Welcome to the GTN Show.
Today we wrap up all the racing from Yokohama, Gulf Coast 70.3 and Challenge Frejus.
Yeah, our Pinboard has a very dramatic first swim of the year.
Plus we have some news from our pros, including upcoming events and visa issues, plus a heat study conducted on Ironman competitors.
All right, let's get started by taking a look at what we spotted online over the last week. And we're going in with a dramatic start to things, thanks to Sarah Crowley. She basically had a pretty fast tumble on her dismount. And she, in her own words, says how not to dismount. From today's race, I'm sore, but I'm okay, more importantly. It certainly was. It's being shared everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah. Definitely not a great way to get off the bike. What it looks like what happened there, she had her foot on top of her shoe, and because she was about to dismount, she twisted her foot just a little bit, enough for that cleat to unclip. The shoe went tumbling, and she went tumbling on top of her bike. Ouch.
Oh, every time I watch it, it feels more painful. I think it's going to have a lot of views for the wrong reason.
Ouch, yeah.
Sticking with Sarah, though, notice this post actually went out before that one because, as you'll see when you look at it, she's basically saying she's enjoying understanding her bike, having a little race lined up for tomorrow, which was before the fall. Yep. She's just nice photos of her tinkering with her bike and doing some fairly complex things for what it looks like. But
she's probably got her bike back on the stand following that crash, checking it's all okay.
Yeah, she probably has. But I just like the fact that, a woman who is a pro, who's racing, is doing it herself. And, it shouldn't be shocking on you, but I think a lot of us, I'm speaking for myself, it is stereotypically still men that will do more of the work, the mechanics. And I know lots of pros obviously get help with their bikes as well, but I just think it's really refreshing to see Sarah sharing that and hopefully kind of encouraging more women. She says there's lots of YouTube videos out there. I mean, maybe we should do some more instructional videos on how to do stuff, but I mean, GCN have that pretty well covered for us.
How well do you look after your bike? I'm guilty of mine's a bit dirty. Don't turn the camera.
I look after mine perfectly. Because it doesn't get ridden.
Yeah, never needs servicing if you never take it out of the house.
I mean, it does need charging on the Di2, as I found out this weekend. Occasionally.
The first time you took it out,
didn't come out.
Dead.
Anyway,
Funny,
that's a story for another day.
Do as she says, not as she does.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we noticed this one, which is funny but not funny. A Madrid race a running race has been slammed for some sexist prizes. Basically, they gave the women's winner a Thermomix robot kitchen robot that for mixing, which, I mean, it's a nice prize. It's a valuable thing, and for anyone in the kitchen, it's quite a cool,
male or female.
Quite a cool prize. And then the rest of the prizes considered low-fat food items, basically. Low-calorie food items, which just sends all the wrong messages. They initially tried to defend themselves before backtracking and apologising profusely for their sexist prizes.
There was a lot of, even I think members of parliament in Spain got involved in criticising that, and you just think, what on earth were they thinking? I mean, men or women, low-fat products should just be long gone, and in a sporting environment, quite bizarre.
Yep. Anyway, hopefully they've learned their lesson. And then we noticed this on social media. Lucy Charles Barkley posting, back to work after a couple of easier days. Unfortunately, I will not be racing in 70.3 Karlsruhe next weekend in Germany. I have been working with top British and German immigration lawyers to try and obtain a visa to travel to Germany. I have used 88 of my 90 days allowed in the Schengen region. Now, this is something that I'm very familiar with from my days of traveling around racing. I used to count the days and then recount them how many days I was going to be in the Schengen, because you can't go over 90 days if you're on a Schengen visa, which is something somewhat foreign to the British public out there, because they just kind of could go as they please. But not anymore. Now you have 90 days in any 180-day period, which means now Lucy Charles finds herself in quite a tricky position where she's used 88 of them. She's got 2 more to use, and then a 3-month wait before any of those re-up and she can get those days back. So it's 90 days in any 180-day period. And she's obviously working with lawyers to try and get a new visa or a different type of visa, but essentially she can't go into the European Union, into the Schengen region at all until she's sorted that out, which means no race for her this coming weekend. we'll get to looking at some of those races coming up, but it won't be racing for her. And she said she'll probably be racing in the UK soon and watch this space. So we'll see what she enters.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if it affects, other athletes and going to get them thinking. I expect people haven't really thought about it yet as like, where you do your training camps and a lot of the prep for Kona. Like she's always gone out to Lanzarote. She's been in Font Romeu. For the British-based athletes.
Yeah, it is a big shift because traditionally British pros have spent most of their time out in Spain or the Canaries or somewhere like that, where they can train in the better weather, and then spent the European summer actually racing in Europe. And now you do exactly what Lucy's got.
You might have to survive the winter in the UK. Sorry for you guys. We're with you on it anyway.
If winter would ever end.
Yeah, it has. Anyway, we're digressing here. There's a few recent posts we spotted from Sam Long. One actually was put out by the PTO where he was kind of divulging quite a lot of behind the scenes or behind his thoughts. Started off talking about his werewolf howl that he was doing before a race. And then the clip actually moved on to a separate clip when he started talking about the conception of his unborn baby boy and how he worked out that it was actually in St George at the bottom of Snow Canyon. It was where they were staying.
Not during the race.
Not during the race. However, he's obviously now just been out and raced there, and he said that he was then thinking about the future and his baby boy, and he'll be born, and instead of racing feeling angry, he was racing with sort of positive vibes, and he puts that down partly to his good performance.
I mean, whatever motivates you, I guess.
Interesting.
I can tell you now, it's easy to be motivated before the baby arrives with those dad watts. They change somewhat when you don't get any sleep later on, but that's in his near future. He did also announce a bit of discussion about leaving his coach. He's said quite a lot about this. We'll get to race results in a little bit. Basically, he's had great success in the last 2 weekends, and there's been some discussion about him hiring coach Dan Plews, who was the coach of Ironman world champion Chelsea Sodaro, and then promptly 11 weeks later firing Dan Plews and saying he's going on his own because he had one bad result. Now, we're not going to get into a discussion and litigating it and whether it worked and didn't work. It clearly is working for him right now. He's doing really well, but I don't think Dan Plews has had a really fair shake here because 11 weeks, no coach can really do anything too dramatic. You're not going to see any results from any changes for a good 11 or 12 weeks at least, if not more. 6 months maybe it takes to see those changes. So I'm not sure Sam has necessarily seen the change from his coach, from his new coach, or the change to coaching himself now in these race results. I think it's just kind of all just working quite well. And it's quite easy to look at your race and go, everything's working perfectly, I'm doing really well, I can coach myself. When things are going well, it's a whole nother kettle of fish when things are not going well. So we'll see how the future goes.
I mean, I love the way he's just so sort of just says it as it is. And it's almost like, he just shares every thought he has, which is great for us as viewers. But I just hope, he's got some good guidance going on. And I don't know how much tongue-in-cheek between him and Lionel when they sort of say, well, they kind of coach each other, because that's a very interesting relationship. They race each other. It actually moves us on to our next post from Lionel. And he says he's back on track. He says, step in the right direction. My only focus after St George was eating healthy for every meal, and I truly feel I was more recovered for this race than St George. I might even start eating healthy all the time. Now, I mean, he's
I'm not
a
sure
pro.
he was heading to McDonald's every day in between those events before that, but maybe a subtle a punt for his sponsor, The Feed, but maybe it was the thing that he's turned around. I must say, both of these guys are in the same category. They are great personalities for the sport. I do find their personalities coming out really great for the sport. I do also find myself rolling my eyes at quite a lot of the stuff that they put out there.
You do it out loud, actually, James.
But still, personalities are great for the
exactly, and they're bringing great racing. Talking of great racing, next post, just a nice post here from Anne Haug, recovering after, I think Ibiza took quite a lot of advantage. She said she got sick on the way home, but did what looks like a local running race, and the crowd seeming excited just to see a triathlete on the run track. Yeah,
and then we had Ben Hoffman with his para partner, or he's the guide for Owen Cravens, and they're on track for Paris. We actually spoke to Ben while he was out in Ibiza about a previous race which they had out in Australia, I believe it was, and it did not go well. Maybe New Zealand. It did not go well. Essentially what happened there was Ben, as the guide for Owen, miscounted the laps, and they did an extra lap. Otherwise, they would have won. But he's learned his lesson, and they did win now in Yokohama. Yeah, you can't really blame anyone else when you're the guard and you're supposed to be counting laps. But anyway, they are very much on track. They won by a solid margin in Yokohama, and it's great to see that. A pro triathlete, Ben, supporting Owen Cravens there on his goals for Paris 2024.
Yeah, that's really cool. Another sort of discussion point here, which is, I think, triathlon enjoying the characters and maybe elaborating on some. But Gustav Iden has come under some, I want to say, sort of criticism, I suppose, or at least a lot of judgment in his choice not to race the Ironman World Championships this year. And he's still making that bid to try to get to the Olympics and win Olympic gold. But there's been a quote here that's been taken, obviously, from an interview of him talking about this and talking about his motivation and his reasoning for doing this. And he's quoted here saying, "If I wanted an easy way out, I could just keep on doing Ironman and win every single World Championships for the next 15 years.
Could you, though? Well, I mean, if anyone could, maybe.
It's got the reaction, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He says that's a bit exaggerated, but do enjoy the struggle to a certain degree. And yeah, I think that has been taken out of context in the context of the interview, and you can go watch that interview. It is quite an interesting interview. I think there will be people questioning his decision, but as he says, the Olympics only comes around every 4 years, and Ironman World Championships comes around every year. It might be his only chance to go and have Olympic success, so he's going to give it his best shot. We'll get to the results of Yokohama a little bit later, and I'm not sure he's quite on track for his Olympic goals, but yeah, he's keeping at it.
Yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, and then one final piece, we noticed this, which is kind of topical because a certain colleague of ours, a presenter who's not here today, so take guesses, went and ran 100 Ks this last weekend. And did really well, actually. I must say, hats off to him. I'm not sure what his time was. It was around 17 hours, I think. Anyway, the 100-kilometer world record was set this weekend by Alexander Sorokin, and he broke his own 100-kilometer world record by 6 seconds. Yeah, he ran 6 hours and 5 minutes and 35 seconds to knock a whole 6 seconds off his previous 100-kilometer world record. I mean, at least it was 6 seconds to the good and not 6 seconds to the bad, because that would really have been brutal. But even so, that's a whole lot of effort for only 6 seconds improvement on your record. Still, 6 hours and 5 minutes. I mean, compared to Mark's, what was it, 16 hours and something?
Good luck when you see Mark next. I hope he doesn't watch this.
And now it's time for your Tri News. And started with news from World Triathlon that they have announced that the 2024 World Triathlon Championships will be in Malaga in Spain. This follows, obviously, we were just in Ibiza in Spain for the long distance World Champs, and it will be in Pontevedra later this year, the 2023 Championships. But now in 2024, it will be in Malaga, Spain. That is the elite under 23 junior and para triathlon, the mixed relay World Championships. And the age group standard distance, the age group sprint distance, the age group aquabike standard distance, and the age group mixed relay world championships will all be in Malaga, Spain in 2024. So if you're looking for a holiday in Malaga.
I mean, it's a good. They've gone from one sort of party island to another party location, haven't they?
They're exactly. They're just going to Ryanair and EasyJet destinations.
How was the after party in Ibiza? Is it?
Well, we came straight home on for some reason, someone booked our ticket just before the party got started.
Oh, what a shame. Well, sort it out for next year.
If you are looking for that, it has gone all around the world, and now in 2024 in Malaga. So if you're looking for qualifying for your country, now you know where you're going to be going.
Yeah, awesome. Well, in other news, Zwift Triathlon Academy has been announced at last. Now, it's had a few changes, obviously, after the announcement of the Ironman World Championships for the women staying in Kona, but the men going to Nice. They decided to make it purely a women's team this year, with the focus being on Kona, and they've selected 4 athletes. And actually, they have a new ambassador because they've now teamed up with Canyon. So Jan Frodeno is the man leading the charge, and he's actually here to bring us, well, not here physically, but we've got a clip from him.
Excited to be the one sharing the 2023 Zwift Triathlon team with you. We've got 4 women, 1 dream, and that's Kona. First up, we have Steph Clutterbuck. She's 28-year-old, and she's an ex-rower from the UK. Then we have Livia Egler. She's a 29-year-old Swiss-German architect. She lives in Berlin and has raced Kona once before. Jana Riktrova, 43-year-old Czech athlete living in Woodlands, Texas, is reigning world champion in her age group. Can she go back and defend her title? Last but not least, we have Camille King, a 45-year-old French mother of 3 living in the UK. Camille has also raced Kona once before. She mixes triathlon training with ultra running. I can't wait to see their journeys to Kona and see them tearing up the Queen K on the orange Speed Max. They'll be hard to miss, so race hard, ladies, rock on and ride on. All the best.
Congratulations there to Jana, Emil, Livia, and of course Stephanie Clutterbuck.
Yeah, now you guys might recognise Steph from, I think it was this time last year that it was maybe not her triathlon career highlight, but she
I think it probably was.
She joined us, she had the privilege of joining us in a winning relay team. And we won't talk about who the competitors were, but it was a good fun event last year.
We won is all that matters.
It is, yes. And Steph was definitely the strongest member of the team, so it's great to see her making that Zwift Academy team. And we look forward to following them. Hopefully I'll be able to see how they get on out in Kona.
Yeah, and then we noticed this in the news. It's a study that's been released on the size, on body size and shape and how they perform in heat. And the study was done on Ironman competitors.
Yeah, it's quite a niche, unique study really in that sense. And it looks like have taken data from the PTO and gone with looking at pros. So the average race time I think for women was 9 hours 30, the men 8:44. So sort of the higher end. Now there's kind of some controversy. I mean, James and I were chatting about this beforehand with the results, and James doesn't necessarily agree with it. I'm not putting you under that. I mean, it's just interesting. So they think that they conclude from their study that the longer-limbed athletes are better in the heat. Now, a really interesting thing that I read was actually that this was for men and doesn't really correlate so much for the women.
Which
and they were
interesting.
Yeah, but they were also saying the shorter, stockier builds, then obviously the opposite, are better in the cold. There's a few more things, but yeah.
Essentially, it's a data analysis rather than a study. They looked at these pros, they looked at their body shape and size from where they got their data and also from photographic evidence, and they compared their performance in a hot Ironman and a cold Ironman. So basically all of these 170 athletes that were in the study that were eventually their data was used had done both a hot Ironman and a cold Ironman. Now, as we all know, there are a lot more factors that go into Ironman success, like what time of the year it was and where it was and whether it's hilly or flat and all that kind of thing. But basically they've concluded that longer-limbed, leaner athletes perform a lot better in the heat than shorter, stockier builds in the heat, which is not really surprising, except that from my experience, the really small, short, petite athletes actually tend to do a lot better in an Ironman marathon in the heat. If you think Patrick Lange, if you think Mirinda Carfrae, they've had great success in Kona in that heat on the run. They're not necessarily the tallest, lankiest, longest athletes, but then they're not short and stocky, are they? They're petite.
Lean and,
they're really small. So maybe there is some validity in this. As far as takeaways for you, there isn't really much you can do about this because you can't really change your body shape.
No, exactly.
The only thing you can really take away from it is if you are not particularly suited, if you are a shorter, stockier athlete and not particularly suited to the heat, choose carefully where you go and do your race because the heat might really punish you more than other people.
Yeah, but I also wouldn't be disheartened from it because I'd say, there's going to be outliers, but also there's a lot of trainability, like we've covered in many videos of how
we have a video on how to train in the heat and prepare yourself for the heat. There are lots of things you can do. Your body will adapt to heat if you stimulate that adaptation. So you can just train for it. What's the problem? And this is your reminder, if you haven't noticed already, I'm wearing a shirt that you probably haven't seen before because it's brand new. It's a Global Bike Festival shirt. And I think it's pretty cool design.
Give us a 12, full 12.
Pretty cool design. The Global Bike Festival happening on the 15th to 18th of June, and we're going to be there. You can come and hang out with us, and you can ride bikes, you can run, you can drink beer if that's what you're into.
Triathlon stuff.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things happening at the festival. It's not just riding bikes and training, it's also fun stuff.
Yeah.
That's 15th to 18th of June in Saalbach in Austria. Come join us in the mountains for some fun and Global Bike Festival stuff. And also you can probably buy these shirts on our GCN shop or GTN shop anytime soon. They're not quite up there yet, but they will be soon. But either way, it's less than 30 days to the Global Bike Festival. So if you are planning to come, time to get your stuff in order and book those tickets.
Yeah, see you there.
Okay, now it's time to look at some race results from this past weekend before we look at all the upcoming races in the coming weekend. Starting with Gulf Coast 70.3, it was a men's-only event, a men's-only 70.3 on the pro side. The women's equivalent will be happening next weekend in Chattanooga. Sam Long took the win, as we mentioned earlier. 2 weeks in a row. He's won after winning St. George last weekend, and he did it with a very impressive run, a 1:11.50 on the run, to beat Lionel Sanders in second and Jackson Laundry in third, with Tim O'Donnell on his comeback from a heart attack. I think that's well and truly done now, his comeback. He's back in fourth. Sam Long said, I didn't really get to celebrate the win last week, but we said, let's come and do the Gulf Coast and then enjoy a beach vacation after getting the double. So now I can really do that, because he did do the double. So confidence is paying off there.
Yeah.
And he's definitely riding a wave at the moment of confidence. So keep it up.
Yeah, well done him. We also had Challenge Frejus, which had a pretty strong field actually. The women's race was won by Magda Nieuwvoet with an impressive 1:22 run, which actually, well, that's almost 9 minutes quicker than her second place, Aurélia Boulanger from France, and another French in third, Julie Amilo, rounding up that podium on the women's side.
Yeah, on the men's side, it was a bit of a battle of the veterans there. I can say that because these are the guys I've been racing for pretty much my whole career, and they're all still racing and I've already retired. So it was Bart Ehrenutz who took the win ahead of Cyril Vignot, and then Onyan Stanovic was third, and just behind him was Sebastian Kienle. And the reason I say a battle of veterans, you got Bart, who is 38, Cyril Vignot is 40, and Sebastian Kienle, who's also 38, all in the race there, and they were the three who were off the bike together in the lead ahead of everyone else. Unfortunately, Seb Kienle got a penalty right near the beginning of the bike, which by all accounts was unfair, including the winner's Bart Ehrenutz's account, was unfair. He ended up in ninth after serving that penalty and ran his way all the way back up to fourth. So very impressive racing by all the old dogs at that one. So I can say the old dogs because, as I said, I was used to be racing. They're doing a lot better than I am at their age.
Oh, you'll be back soon, James. Don't worry.
No, not going to happen. That ship has definitely sailed. Sebastian Kienle posted afterwards, it was a beautiful race with an ugly outcome for me. Only good thing is I'm in shape, and there's a new chance next week. He said his legs definitely showed up. He was feeling really strong on the bike. So after some early season races that haven't gone as well as he had hoped, he seems to be on form for his discontinued tour. This is his final year as a pro, and he's traveling around hitting all the races that he really wants to do before he retires. So yeah, watch for the next one.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's really nice of him to sort of share it all, isn't it? We also were back to WTCS racing. They were over in Yokohama in Japan, and there was some fingers crossed moments for Gwen Jorgensen as she made that huge journey from America to Japan in the hope to race. Now, you might be wondering what we're on about. Now, she actually has to get enough points to be able to be selected or qualify for these races. So it's kind of a bit of a chicken and egg because she's not yet on the start list, and she was one off the starting list, decided to put all her eggs in one basket, went out with the family and just had to play the waiting game.
Yeah, essentially what happens is they publish a waiting list for the elite, so it kind of rolls down. If people above you with points pull out, you can get on. And she knew it was going to be tight. She might get in, she might not. She ended up being like the next one. If one person had woken up on race morning and said, I can't race, I'm feeling sick, she could have got in. She didn't, so she traveled all the way there and just turned around and came back home. So yeah, frustrating for her, but it is what it is. She says, for those wondering why I couldn't race, I was in she gives a whole explanation. She basically says she's leaving Japan full of good food and fond memories, even if she didn't get to actually race. She is continuing on that journey to try and qualify for Paris 2024, and we wish her well on that. But as for the racing itself, torrential rain for both races, which seems to be quite usual at the Yokohama race.
It does.
But yeah, it was wet for both of them. Hayden Wild took the win on the men's side. He was not really challenged on the run at all. In fact, one of the stats I saw, he ran faster in the first 5Ks than he has in the last two sprint distance races he did, and this was obviously double the distance, and then he held on obviously for the win. Matt Hauser in second, Vasco Velasa in third. Interestingly, the Norwegians, as we spoke about earlier, trying to qualify, Christian Blumenfeld, just 1 week after his runner-up position at that PTO race in Ibiza, managed to get 8th. He came out the water 44 seconds down in 51st place. I managed to bridge that gap to the main pack, the main pack, and get into the race essentially, and then hold on for 8th on the run. His compatriot, Gustav Eden, was just 8 places behind him out the water, 107 down on the leaders, and he didn't make that pack. He ended up the day a distant 5 minutes back in 39th position, which just shows you how important that swim is. You have to get into that pack. You have to be in contention when you get out the water, and Gustav clearly has a bit of work to do to make sure he's keeping up with those fast young guns.
Yeah, there's a lot to follow, isn't there? It's going to be a jam-packed 12 and a bit months leading
yeah.
into Paris. Very exciting.
We'll be following it.
Yeah. On the women's side, we had a new winner, well, for the first time ever at the WTCS. Sophie Caldwell was on top of the podium for Great Britain, and I think it's just showing the depth and the tension amongst the British women's team to get one of those slots for the Olympics, a maximum of 3 slots per country, and I think the women will get those 3 slots available. But so she took her first win ahead of Rosa Maria Tapia from Mexico, and then it was Taylor Knibb back racing after that recovery, after she's had that operation on her foot. So she was making up the podium in 3rd ahead of American Taylor Spivey. So it just shows again the Americans and the British. We had a 5th place for Kate Ward from Great Britain as well. So really tight for those guys to make the team at the moment.
And again, showing the importance of making that swim pack, because Georgia Taylor-Brown had a less than stellar swim, just missed that pack, and she was only good for 7th in the end. There were 7 girls off the front in that race, and Georgia wasn't one of them. She ran her way up into 7th, but she just wasn't in the contention for the win because she was 32 seconds down out of the swim.
That's unusual for her, isn't it?
Yeah. But that group ended up 1 minute 32 down at the end of the bike, and she just couldn't close that down on the run. So all about the swim, really.
Yeah, exciting racing. Well, talking about all about the swim, this is a very tenuous link to Xterra UK, well, Western Park, because none other than double Olympic champion Alistair Brownlee made an appearance, and there was quite a lot of excitement about this, and I was especially excited because we were there making a video, well, racing, I should say, taking part at least. I actually could say that I raced Alistair because I was in the relay, and the relay went off with the elites in the swim, so I actually started my swim next to Alistair. Last I saw of him.
And how close was it at the finish?
Well,
39 seconds, was it?
A little more, maybe turn it to minutes. Something like that. I think this is not just after the swim, okay? I didn't lose that much on 1,500 metres of swimming.
The swim was pleasant too, I heard. I heard it was great water for swimming.
It was a little bit reedy, but the day definitely got better. But anyway, on to the pro results. So Alistair, I think all eyes were on him, but he did actually have quite a battle from what I gather, from what I heard, because I couldn't see because he was too far ahead. But Maxime Chain from France was actually world ranked number 7, and caught Alistair up on the bike, and they had quite a few changes of lead, and I think it came down to the final few K in the run where Alistair just had a little bit more strength to take the win by 30 seconds. So it was exciting to have great racing and a beautiful venue. So Maxine Chain was 2nd, and then Morgan Rhodes was 3rd on the men's field. Now the women's field was won by Lizzie Orchard from New Zealand. Bonnie van Vilgenberg from Great Britain was 2nd with an incredibly strong run actually, and Kerry-Ann Upham was 3rd, and GTN team were 4th, in case you were wondering. But there is a lot more to come on that.
There's a video coming.
Yeah, it was absolutely
all the action unfold.
It was absolutely awesome event. Really great to be part of it.
Yeah, lots of racing last weekend, and lots of racing coming up this coming weekend. And we're going to briefly get through those and just tell you what you can look forward to. Before we do, we're going to explain the strength of field score that the PTO is assigning to these races now, because it's quite interesting to look at the field and look at that strength of field score, because it kind of is just a snapshot, one number that can tell you how strong the field is and how deep it is, and it's quite interesting. So we've got Ironman Lanzarote coming up this weekend. On the start list is Sam Ledlow, who skipped the PTO Ibiza race, but he is definitely racing this one, and Cam Worth were 2 kind of Uber bikers. It would be very interesting to go against each other. We don't have confirmation that Cam is actually going to race. He is definitely one who plays his cards close to his chest, and we never know whether he's going to show up at a race until about 24 to 36 hours before, where he's either there or he isn't. We don't know whether he is going to be, but if he is, that would be a great race to watch, because it's a really tough bike course, and you've got 2 Uber bikers, as it were, going head to head. So hopefully he does show up and we can watch that. Our strength of field score on the men's side of 76.5, so not that deep. On the women's side, a kind of weak field of only 58 there. Then we have 70.3 Pays de A in France, which is on a women's race that is really strong, particularly the running, because we've got Emma Pallant-Brown going up against Tamara Jewett, who
that's
are
going to be exciting.
Some of the strongest runners in the sport at the moment, or maybe the 2 strongest runners in the sport at the moment, and a strong field there too, 76.7 on the women's, and on the men's 79.4, so both fairly deep fields, which will be very interesting to watch. Well,
we've then got 70.3 Krakow, which we actually mentioned earlier. Now, I'm interested if the soft scores change because Lucy Charles Barkley was on that start list. I don't know if we had that number before or after.
No, she was still on the start list. So essentially the strength of field score takes into account where your ranking is on the PTO ranking. So Lucy Charles Barkley being right up there is definitely going to make that strength of field score go up. But she's, as we've said, got a visa issues and not going to be there. So that strength of field score will come down. But Laura Phillip is there and she's definitely ranked pretty high. And there's 6 more women in the top 50 on that start list. So a strong field, even if Lucy Charles Barkley can't race it.
Yeah, no, exciting to see. Hopefully Laura Phillip actually, having been ill previously. So be excited to see her race. Yep. We've also got, like we just mentioned earlier, 70.3 Chattanooga. And that's got the likes of Paula Finley, Sky Munch and Jackie Herring, giving it a strength of field of 83. So another strong race there.
Really strong race. And then we have the championship in Samarin, the Challenge Championship. Both the men's and women's here have really strong fields. 82.7 strength of field score for the women and 86 for the men. And just listen to these names: Aaron Royal, Frederick Funk, Clement Mignon, who just won the long distance world championships, Peter Hemerick, Matt Hansen, Tom Bishop, just to name a few on the men's side. On the women's side, Fenella Language, Marjolaine Pierre, who also just won the long distance world champs, Sarah Perez Sala, India Lee, Grace Tech, Lottie Wilms. So that is, the championship's really got a proper championship field this time, which will definitely be interesting to watch. So we'll bring you all that action next week.
Oh yeah.
All right, now it's time to look at your pinboard and what you guys have sent us. We've got a couple of interesting videos this week. For May, we were asking you for your first open water swim session of the year, or maybe in the Southern Hemisphere, your last one of the year. We've had some interesting submissions already this month. We got a really interesting one this one. Check this one out.
Well, that was David from Anchorage in Alaska. And he says, I know GTN wanted open water swim content. I tried, but we literally don't have any open water yet. Maybe next month. I think this is such an awesome effort.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't count if you don't put your face in the water.
You're so hard. I mean, says the man who wouldn't even put his toe in the water.
I definitely wouldn't. No, not at all. I probably wouldn't leave the house, to be honest. Never mind even getting my wetsuit go outside. Anyway, we've got another one. First open water swim of 2023 in northern Michigan from Amy. She says the water wasn't actually too bad, actually. The area of the lake is pretty shallow. It was already 68 Fahrenheit, which Google tells me is 20 degrees Celsius.
We would love that.
I wouldn't even get in that.
Wow, that's saying something. Now we have another one from Argo in Estonia. He says, my first outdoor freestyle swim of the season. Short one, but still a freestyle one. Water temperature 13. Felt cold at first, but got used to it. Fresh afterwards. Now, I read this as freestyle being, well, he did front crawl and he must have been doing breaststroke until now, but you interpreted it differently.
Well, I thought maybe it's freestyle as in without a wetsuit, because it does look like he doesn't have a wetsuit there. But then thinking about it, he's actually sent us a video previously of him doing some ice swimming where he basically had to keep his head out of the water. So he was doing head up breaststroke for 50 meters in a iced up pool without a wetsuit there too.
So it could be over.
Maybe he was actually putting his face in the water now. Either way, 13 degrees is a bit chilly for my liking.
Well, you did get in to 9 degrees.
I mean, I didn't do any swimming though, did I? I mean, I did a bit of hollering and then I got out again. So, I haven't done any swimming. If you've done some swimming, or if you are swimming already in the open water, we'd love to see your videos, your photos, your epic adventures where you went out into the open to swim. Send them to us we could be featuring them next week in our show.
Okay, James, Mark has told me I've got to make you do this. So are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Say what? There you go. No, that was not too bad, was it? Yeah, well done.
We'll keep working on it. Okay, this week we had Joseph Boughton commenting on our video, What to Wear Under Tri-Suit. He said, when I got my first one-piece tri-suit, I thought you wore it like a wetsuit with a zipper in the back. And as I was trying to zip it up, I thought, using the bathroom is going to be a problem. I quickly figured out how to wear it correctly. I mean, we've all been there.
I mean, I didn't cover that in the video, but thank you for sharing that one. So if anyone was in doubt, they now know.
Yeah, now they know. Thank you for sharing that, Joseph. And then someone else said on the same video, these days what pro men are wearing under their suits is water bottles, apparently. Which we've seen quite a lot of, actually. They stuff a water bottle down their chest. Then when they're down in the aero position, you've got this kind of fairing almost. Apparently it's more aerodynamic. Can't be very comfortable though.
Well, I think some of them, I think Joe Skipper had actually just a bladder, like as in, not his bladder, you know, that's what you don't look at me like that. Just moved his
don't
bladder.
we all?
Anyway, I think you guys know what I'm on about, even if James doesn't. But yes, it's then you obviously don't need to move out of your position, but you've also got hydration there. And Joe, who did the TT part of the Challenge Solo Relay, she actually did the same, just purely for aerodynamics, even though she didn't need it, and she's done some wind tunnel testing. So there must be some proof in it.
Also had a bladder under her shirt. So what?
Yeah. Anyway, we love reading your comments, so do keep them coming.
Yeah, and that's it for the show for this week. Thank you for watching. This coming up this weekend, we have a pretty in-depth look at the Race Ranger, which debuted out in the PTO Ibiza race and also the Long Distance World Champs. It's the anti-drafting technology, and it's definitely a video worth a look because it's quite interesting technology.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. Well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. We'd love it if you supported us by giving us a like, and if you haven't yet done so, subscribe by just hitting that globe. And in Mark's absence, we thought we'd throw to a video where he got rather excited about shaving his beard in a wind tunnel. Check it out.